our special audience across the world. This is Researchment Academy. We are bringing a special edition of our webinar this time around to celebrate Africans. This is African Education Week, and in 1963, countries in Africa came together to form what we call Organization of African Union, OAU, which later transformed to African Unity and currently African Union. 25th of May of every year, it's set aside to celebrate Africans. And because of our engagement, involvement in sustainable educational system in Africa, and Researchment Academy this time around us have come up with a special edition to celebrate Africans, and we title this African Day 2024. And we are bringing experts in the field of education to come and lecture us on topics that are very germane in ensuring that Africa has sustainable educational system. So shortly, we are going to be inviting our guest speakers. There are two, Professor Reuben from South Africa and Dr. Osifila from Adekunle Ajasin University, Akuba Akoko. They will be discussing critical issues in our educational system. And it's an interactive section. After their lectures, you are free to ask questions, you engage them, you ask questions with a view to ensuring that our educational system in Africa is sustainable. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Kolede, for that introduction. My name is Dr. Fadlullah Olaiwola Isa, the Director of Researchment Academy and the host for this program. Mine is to welcome all of you, and I want to do it with all diligence, with all respect, that I welcome all our guests, our guests particularly, and on behalf of the management of Researchment Academy, I welcome all participants. You are all guests as far as this meeting is concerned. The opening has told us that this is our first edition, apart from our normal monthly Researchment Academy webinar. The essence here is to make this more elaborate by bringing panelists. Our usual trend for the normal monthly one is to have one presenter, but this time around we want to have it cross. Gentlemen, you also agree with me that the love of your place of origin, according to a scholar, is part of faith. So it is not out of place for us at Researchment Academy to join the world to celebrate the African Day. So with due respect, I welcome all of you to this meeting, to this discussion, this webinar for today. It's going to be very educative. Like we know that The African celebration this week has its overall theme, which is, to educate an African fit for the 21st century, building resilient education system for increased access to inclusive, lifelong, quality, and relevant learning in Africa. That is the theme for the African Week this year, 2024. But at Researchment Academy, we have moved further to bring out some perspective, which we would like our presenters to delve with today. The first one is technological integration and pedagogical innovation in Africa higher education system. That is one perspective. While the other perspective, because most of our activities, things cannot be done if there is no efficient policy background. So our second perspective will be policy framework and institutional strategies for sustainable development of African education. You will agree with me that these two perspectives are very, very key and very germane to our educational development. So I would like us to join. I'm happy that you are joining us to be interacted with by erudite scholars that we have invited. One of them, Professor Reuben Dlamini, is a professor of educational information and engineering technology from the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg in South Africa. You are most welcome, Professor Ruben. The second, our second presenter will be Dr. Gboyega I, Osifila, an expert in institutional management, personnel development, and educational policy issue. He is from Adekunle Ajasin University, Akungba. You are both welcome. These are the two individuals that we'll be interacting with today. So, once again, I welcome all of you to this meeting. Thank you very much. And our next item on the agenda of the program, I don't know if it was shared, is the reading of the panelist citation. The first one will be taken by Ms. Ayomide to read the citation for Professor Ruben. Thank you. Ayomide, over to you.
Yes, sir. Good day to everyone on this call, and we're happy to have you. Good day, Professor Ruben. I'll go ahead to read your citation now. So, Professor Reuben Dlamini is a scholar and an information and engineering technology practitioner with more than 20 years of experience as a programming, digitalization, and education technology expert. He is currently an associate professor in educational information and engineering technology at the Wheat School of Education, where his teaching focuses on computer science education, educational technology, and information technology. Professor Lamini's expertise and research focus is on cognitive systems design and development, the Internet of Things, digital inclusion, technological innovations in education, socio-technical architecture, social computing, and human-computer interaction. Prior to joining Wheat University, he worked as an academic technology consultant at the University of Colorado at Boulder, USA. Professor Lamini was educated in the USA. He also earned a dual degree in computer science and mathematics at Wilberforce University, master's in engineering and management, with a major in information technology at Case Western Reserve University, and a PhD in instructional systems and technology at Ohio University. You can go ahead to take on your presentation, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Ayomite. And so you can so I'm able to project, or you're going to project for me? Oh, okay. So, colleagues, good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation again. My talk will be centered on technological integration and pedagogical innovation in African higher education systems. I've already been introduced. My name is Ruben Dlamini at the Vet School of Education. So we are facing a reality of the brick and mortar type of a situation in higher education institutions. And while we are also facing the issue of digital divide. So there are a number of questions that we are going to be asking. When you look at this situation on these two elephants and the rabbit, it demonstrates some of the inequitable inequalities that exist within higher education, especially when it comes to digitalization. Equality and equity. What do we mean when we talk about equality? Equality is basically when you treat everyone the same, exactly the same way, regardless of their need. So what we see in the African context, it's people having access to mobile technologies. And then, but there are a number of paradoxes that are coming out of that. And then now, when we moved from equality, we moved to equity, where everyone is provided with what they need to succeed. So what is important for us is just not to distribute devices, is also be able to utilize it for productivity purposes. So in an ideal world, our students in higher education within the African context, they should be sitting in campuses, having access in multiple pathways to learning. So you can see in this graphic here is an ideal situation that we will see. But is that happening, or it's something that we are aspire to get to? Some of the key changes in the education sector: we need to become more learner-centric. We need to be more inclusive and also apply multimodality approach to our teaching and learning. And then also we need to be more innovative. We need to be more creative. And then also the connected devices, they need to be they have to be interconnected. They have to be working together to achieve the same goal, which is to educate our young people and also to increase our throughput in terms of tertiary education. And also, of course, to harvest data and be able to inform some of our practices, and also to be able to feed some of the AI machines that are dominating our higher education institutions. Let me just say that what we're hearing, especially with AI, there's so much imbalanced narratives. So it's very, very important that we harvest data and then we are able to feed the beast that exists out there. Because when you intersect humans and computers, basically there's the human machine, or there's the machine that it has to bring the two together, so that we experience today what is known as artificial intelligence. So why universities are trailing behind? There is extreme inequalities distribution of technological knowledge and digital resources across the sub-Saharan Africa region. So in 2020, the shift to online teaching and learning happened random and irregular in the education sector. And what we saw there were so many inequalities that were made visible. And it became clear for us that, equality here in South Africa, we're able to distribute digital resources, and in other countries, Zambia is one of them, I think Nigeria, Ghana, access to mobile technology is growing at exponentially. However, what we are experiencing, it's a paradox, because that does not guarantee the usage in terms of productivity. All it says that people are able to socialize. There are other places where there's a lot of entrepreneurial activities taking place. I don't want to take away those activities, but we talk about the majority of the sub-Saharan region, where LMS, learning management systems, became central, or they are still central in the digital transformation agenda. However, there is systematic deficits that exist as we integrate these digital platforms. And these systematic inequalities, they are affecting individual student experiences in the higher education sector. So the inconsistencies in terms of access to digital resources in education result in social disparities, and these impact educators' access to information, socio-technical challenges, and other professional development opportunities. So this picture here, it demonstrates what is happening currently. We are doing the best that we can in terms of bringing everybody to where they need to be. However, we forget, that it will take just to put digital resources. We need to match professional development activities so that we can experience what is known as equitable access to computing, and then we can experience what is known as inclusion. And inclusion is just not about us as consumers, because what we are doing in the African context, we are busy consuming technology instead of being contributors in the development agenda of digitalization. So that is where we need to be. We cannot say we are included because now we have access and we are using the technology. We need to be participants even in the actual research and development activities. So there are a number of questions that we need to be asking. Why is social rationality critical in the pursuit of technology in the classroom? In what ways is digital inequalities affecting technological integration, which is an education imperative? In what ways are technological affordances unlocking our preconditioned state to think one-dimensionally? What can we learn from the Frankfurt scholars such as Herbert Marcuse and Habermas with regard to technical thinking? So when we consider such arguments that technical thinking has taken over in every sphere of our life, in human relations, politics, and so on, then we ask the question, why is digital capital and equity critical in education? What are the affordances of digital equity? What is the relationship between digital divide, digital capital, and then also digital equity? It's very, very important that we ask and we answer those questions, and that will take place in the labs. So Africa is still considered a digital desert. There is unequal access in terms of digital infrastructure, connectivity, and has serious implications to human capital. But I want to go to, we will cross the desert as I engage with the participants. So let me go to some of the paradoxes. So the paradox in Africa that exists is mobile technology. Mobile technology access increased. However, digital inequality has been amplified. Because we pay attention to the exponential growth in terms of having access to these mobile technologies. ICT skills, professional development opportunities are not meeting the distribution of digital devices. And then also unemployment of ICT graduates. You will expect that because these graduates have ICT skills, their opportunity or their chances will be enhanced for them to be able to access employment opportunities. But we still have graduates sitting in the ICT space looking for employment. Lastly, connectivity. Just by closing digital divide, by connecting, so because we are trying to connect everyone, or the last billion it's not actually the solution to digital inequality. So there's more that we need to be doing in terms of closing the digital divide. Professional development opportunities, it's very, very critical. I think I'm just gonna stop here, colleagues, and then I will answer questions as we move along in the engagement.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Ruben, for your wonderful presentations. We are very glad to have you, and we enjoyed your presentations. So, but we want to do it this way. We want the second presenter to come in, make his own presentations, and so that we can have interactions after that. So on this note, I want to invite Ayomide to bring in Fastina to present the citation of Dr. Gboyega Osifila. Thank you.
Spotlight on something
Yes,
truly special
before
that could revolutionize your academic journey. It's called Glintplus, and believe me, it's a lot more than your typical academic service provider. Navigating the world of academia isn't easy. It's all about pioneering research, meticulous editing, and striving for nothing less than excellence amidst fierce competition. That's exactly where Glintplus comes in, to ensure that you invest your precious time where it really matters, your research. Why, you ask? Because your success is our mission. But that's not all. Our services cover a wide range. Need to get your latest research published? Glintplus hosts top-notch journals you can count on. Worried about language barriers? Our editing and translation services will refine your work and make it accessible worldwide. Considering compiling your expertise into a book? We're here to help you publish it. And for those who thrive on collaboration, Researchment is a platform for connecting researchers across the globe, fostering innovation and discovery that only happens when brilliant minds unite. We also publish journals for some prestigious institutions and associations. Presently, our journals include Chemistry of the Total Environment, Journal of Mining and Geosciences, Journal of Agriculture and Applied Biotechnology, and Ondo University Journal of Agriculture and Social Sciences. At Glintplus, we take enormous pride in our manuscript review process. It isn't just comprehensive, it's crafted to ensure your work meets the most stringent standards. Yes, our versatility knows no bounds. Moreover, Glintplus is a staunch advocate of knowledge accessibility for all. So if you're aiming to make a significant impact in your field, think of Glintplus as your dedicated partner. We're more than just a scholarly support service. We're a vibrant community dedicated to fostering academic excellence. Stay connected with us through our website, email, or social media channels. Let's push the boundaries of knowledge together. With Glintplus, you're not just surviving in the world of academia, you're thriving.
Yes, thank you very much, Ayomide, for that app. And our audience, you can briefly see, based on what was just displayed, what we stand for, what we do, our services, and we hope that you will partner with us, and we are ready to serve you in order to improve on your writing skills, to how to publish high quality impact articles in reputable journals. And as we go on, I want to invite Mrs. Uh, Faustina to come up and present the citations of our second speaker. Ayomide.
I had to introduce our second speaker in person of Dr. Gboyega I Osifila. He is a distinguished teacher, scholar, researcher, and expert in human development. He pursued his academic journey at the University of Lagos, Akoka, Lagos, Nigeria, widely recognized as the prestigious University of First Choice. Here, he earned his Bachelor of Arts in Education, BAED, Master of Education, and Doctor of Philosophy in Educational Management. Dr. Shifila has an extensive teaching career, having taught at various educational levels across Nigeria. His commitment to academic excellence is reflected in his active participation in numerous conferences, workshops, seminars, and symposiums, both domestically and internationally. His scholarly contributions are well documented through publications in reputable journals and book chapters which have garnered recognition locally and globally. Moreover, Dr. Oshifila has played a significant role in mentoring and supervising numerous projects, dissertations, and theses, guiding many scholars who have gone on to excel in their respective fields. Currently, he serves as a senior lecturer in the Department of Educational Management at Adekunle Ajasi University, Akungba Akoko, Lagos, Osun, Nigeria. His research interests are diverse and include personal management, institutional management, professional development, leadership, and educational policy issues. Dr. Oshifila's work continues to influence and shape the field of educational management, both in Nigeria and beyond. And I have the honor to bring him to take his presentation. You're welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Ayomide, thank you for having me on this important and educative program. I also want to welcome all our participants across the globe for this wonderful opportunity to share ideas with scholars, especially on how to make education in Africa to be the best among the continents. Uh, I've been asked to speak and to interact with scholars on policy framework, institutional strategies, and sustainable development in education. I want Ayomide to please put on the slides. You can have them. Now, there's no doubt that everybody across the globe believes that in every spheres of our lives, be it social, political, religious, and everything you can talk of, the quality of education will determine the quality of life of everything you may get in other part of life. But we're going to go into it properly. We'd like to understand what we mean by policy, what we mean by policy framework, the institutional strategies, and sustainable, and the link between or among these three. The policy is simply the course of action, whatever the government has decided to do, what the government intends to achieve. In education particularly, every country have a document that we refer to as their policy on education. Nigeria, for instance, has a published document that has undergone several reviews in order to meet up with the challenges of and the reality of the new order. This policy framework is more or less just the path, the aspects, and the procedures of how to go about the achievement of what the policy has that has dictated. The institutional strategies, no matter the policy statements or whatever you have, they are institutions that are meant to enforce, to implement whatever has been gathered, whatever has been put together in your policy statement. The sustainable development on its own is just a matter of securing the present in order not to undermine what you get in future. That in every sphere, people and the environment where we live in should be able to have all they desire and all they require. Now, let's go back to this policy framework. Like I've mentioned, it is the purposive course of action of what government intends to do. And for this action, there are goals that will guide it. Goals are the destination of where you are going and how you want to get there. The institution that is expected to enforce this, we have three phases: the formulators of policy, implementers of policy, and the evaluators of policy. These are strategies. These are institutions, government bodies, administrative bodies, and every other concerned stakeholders in one way or the other could be regarded as formulator of policy. They must come together, bring ideas together in their field, in their areas, on how they are going to get to the desired result. Hence, formulation of policy will have to take place. Also, we have implementers of policy. In one time or the other, when these people who had made policies, they must have to also involve those who will implement it. They must be carried along. They must know how to go about it. So the implementers also as an institution that must be taken care of when we consider the strategies that will be used. Finally, under the institution, there are also institutions that are set to evaluate the policy framework, to evaluate if the policy being implemented are achieving the goals for which they are set up for. If the goals are not being met as expected, it means they have to either go back to the drawing board or to adjust along the line. What are these strategies? What does it need to be done? What do we need to do? The strategy starts from number one, identifying data that will propel the formulation of policy. Who are the targeted audience? How do you capture them? We must have enough data and the characteristics of these intended participants or audience of the policy. Two, we must look at the human capacity building for implementers. After the policy has been formulated, those who will implement, those who will be on the field, those who will implement the process of it, who make it to come to reality, must be empowered, either human or the material needs that will be used for this policy implementation and policy evaluation. The infrastructure for implementers is another strategy that must be considered. The human elements cannot work all alone. They might need, just like the first presenter has said, the technological aspect of it is very important. And this must be provided. This must be done in such a way that those who are to implement will have something to work with so that they can get the best results. On the strategy, it also is the resources for evaluation. We evaluate in order to know the level of achievement, how far we have gone, the weaknesses and the strength of the policy, and this can be adjusted within or in the process of this policy implementation. It means resources must be provided adequately for evaluation of policy. Again, from this, like I mentioned in the background at the introduction, sustainable development has to deal meeting the needs of the present in every areas of life. Development that will not compromise the future of the yet unborn children. We will do things that those who are presently living will enjoy, and also leave things that those who are coming behind them would also have something to use. Utilizing human and natural resources are needed for human development. The policy framework, institutional strategy, and sustainable development in education. What should be done? I said, the goal that any country intends to achieve would determine the policy framework. The framework are all the actions, all the steps, all the procedures, all the actors that will be needed to come together to present and to work hand in hand in order to ensure that those things they had written on paper will come to bear fruit. And policy framework is the bedrock for education. Before education can function, before education can achieve its results, before education can be taken to be the variable tool for national development, the policy framework must be properly done. That is, the formulation of the policy and the implementation of it. It's only on these two bases that education can achieve what it has been proposed to be a tool for national development. And also the institutional strategy needed for policy implementation. At every sphere of educational level, there are institutions, there are some things that will be needed to implement policies. The human capacity, those who are to implement, those who are to work, they must be not only be provided with adequate training or retraining, they must be adequate, and they must be present at every level where they are needed, either at the government level, at the school level, at the community level, the non-governmental organization. They must all be mobilized so that be able to have a smooth implementation of policy. For sustainable development, therefore, policy framework that is adequate, policy framework that is properly designed, policy framework that involves the stakeholders in education must go in line with institutional strategies. What is the problem we are facing, especially using education as a tool for sustainable development? What has been the challenges in most African countries? What is it that African country is lagging behind, especially when they are compared with other continents of the world? Number one, policy statements in African countries are politically influenced, motivated. Those are the aim of affairs, who are supposed to raise policies, who are supposed to design policies, who do it majorly when it will only give them political advantage. Sometimes our political leaders hurriedly package policies just to appeal to their constituencies. At the end of the day, you find a problem why those policies cannot stand the test of time. There is also a problem in majority of African countries of paucity of data for policy formulation. For policy to take effect, for policy to be formulated, there is a need for adequate data. Let me give an example. If you are formulating policy for universities in Nigeria, you must have adequate data on the human resource, the lecturers, the non-teaching staff, and you must also have data on the buildings and other infrastructure that will be needed. Anything you put up without the consideration of having adequate data will yield nothing but poor results. There is also the problem of poor funding of policy framework. For several years, we've been branding around the supposed 26% that have been prescribed by UNESCO. But when we look at the budget in most African countries, especially in our country here, how far have we been able to move closer to 26%? It has always been below 12-13%. How do you now formulate or implement policies that will better the lots of students at the primary, at the secondary, and at the every higher level of an institution? Other problems that we have in African countries is our attitude from stakeholders. Those who are expected to join forces with government will rather criticize. Those who are expected to provide money for the funding of education and other project related to education will rather prefer to spend that money on something that belongs to them personally, not even within the country, but outside the country. And lastly, one of the major problems where we have problem with policy implementation or policy framework is that those who are expected to implement, to put into practice, to put into use the policy that have been formulated, that have been put to people, are never involved at the beginning, at the process of this policy formulation. At the end of the day, they are in dark. They don't have ideas, and they don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the commitment. The dedication level is now very reduced. How do we tackle this problem? How do we solve the problem so that we can move forward? The problem can be solved based on even the problem, the solutions from it can be deduced from the problem we have identified. One, there should be provision of adequate human, material, physical, and financial resources. Adequate. Government should be ready to fund education to the best of the budget that we think African countries can mobilize. African country is blessed. We are blessed. We have everything. All we need to do is to divert this money to education, for policy framework, for empowering the institutions that we implement so that we can get results. And like I've mentioned too, there is a need for those who will be involved in this policy implementation to be carried along. There are several policies that come on board. Teachers who are supposed to implement at the school level are in the dark of who have done it. They are just told what to do. Examples of all these things are there. And that is why there are issues and there are problems. Let me conclude this way, that to have a sustainable development in education, for education to take its rightful place, I can boldly say here that no country can develop beyond or above the quality of its educational system. And for education to serve as a tool for sustainable development in countries or in Africa particularly, the policies that are formulated must be well funded. Stakeholders needed for implementation must be involved. There should be adequate funding for provisions of human, materials, and technological infrastructure. With this, there is no doubt Africa will take its rightful place in the Committee of Nations. Thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Osifila, for that thought-provoking lecture. And our audience in the house, you have listened to our guest speakers. The first speaker spoke on technological integration and pedagogical innovations in African higher education system. And he said a lot about technological integrations and the problems we have in integrating technologies in our educational system. And he made mention of the fact that just 28% of Africans have access to the internet. I think that's a very good fact. And the second speaker, Dr. Sefila, spoke extensively on policy framework and institutional strategies for sustainable development of African education. So the audience, we want to also hear from you. But before we hear from you, I want to engage our two speakers on the issues that have come out of their lectures. And the theme for this year African Day, as was stated by the director of Researchment Academy, educate an African fit for the 21st century, and building resilient education systems for increased access to inclusive, long life, quality, and relevant learning in Africa. Now, to the second speaker, Dr. Gboyega Osifila, we I want to ask this. At present, we know the importance of curriculum to education or to learning. Can the curriculum in African education systems promote sustainable development? And what do you think will be done in terms of policy with respect to this? Thank you. Did you get the question, sir? Dr. Osifila.
No, sir. The thing is breaking up.
Okay, so let me repeat myself. I'm talking about the importance of curriculum to learning, and I'm now asking that presently in Africa, can the curriculum in our educational system promote sustainable development? And if yes, why do you think so? And if no, what do you think could be done in terms of policy design, formulation, policy implementations, and whatever that has to do with policies in order to ensure that the curriculum we use currently in Africa can actually promote sustainable educational system?
Okay. Thank you, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can. We can. The audience can hear you
All
too.
right. All right. Thank you so much, sir. The curriculum is the total package of what the student is expected uh, to be given in the course of schooling. And don't forget, this curriculum will cover three domains: the cognitive, the psychomotor, and the affective domain that can make up a total human being that will be useful not only to himself or herself, but to the community or the entire world. One thing I've realized is that Africa or African countries, most African countries, rather than looking inward and tailor their curriculum to their own needs, they will prefer to copy from countries that are stable when it comes to education, countries that have made it, that have all infrastructure. At the end of the day, neglecting what we consider to be the need of the African country. Like just you have asked, what is the solution? The solution lies with us. It lies with our policy formulators. It lies with our political leaders. We should look inward. What do we need presently in Africa, in our community? How can we match part of what is done across the globe to enhance the production of human capital, of manpower that will be able to utilize the resources that are needed? So, in summary, I will say that the curriculum in Africa, in our education, should be packaged into policy that are tailored to the needs of the African people. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. To Professor Ruben, sir, you spoke on technology integration, and you said a lot of things about our systemic problem in integrating technology to our system, and it's a problem. Now, we all know and aware that Africa generally still lag behind in terms of technological tools for teaching. And the continent is faced with poor electricity. For example, before I could participate in this program, I needed to go out to refill my generator. In fact, as I speak to you, I use generator. And yesterday, my data got exhausted. I needed to buy data from my personal resources. And now we are faced with all this. But in the light of all this problem, how can an African child enjoy quality education even in the 21st century? Is this still possible, Dr. Professor Ruben?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Kaledoy. Well, the issue here is for us to rethink our curriculum. That's number one. Just to answer that question, also the first one with regards to the SDG. So that SDGs, when you look at SDG number 4, it speaks about education, quality of education. And then when you look at number 9 in the Sustainable Development Goals, it talks about infrastructure, innovation, and so on. And then you go to 10, we want to reduce inequalities. So for us to be able to experience educational equality, there's a number of misalignments that we need to act upon. And fundamental to this, it's global partnerships, because unfortunately, the global world have set up some frameworks that guide any of our developments within Africa. However, we need to make sure that there is no mismatch between access and universal affordable access. So, because universal affordable access it's a precondition to any educational activities, you need to make sure that people are affording things. When you look at data is a currency. We can say all that we want about transitioning to or talk about digital transformation, but people are not affording data in this day and age, and data is the currency in this digital era. So for Africa, we need to make sure that affordability, it's as a precondition, it's attended to, and those things are going to be taking place in our context. We're not going to be informed by developed context, because a lot of the narratives that we get within our education systems are informed, or they are imbalanced. They are informed by industrialized societies. So I think we need to close the gap there and also participate in the table instead of always sitting in the periphery.
Oh, thank you, Professor Ruben. And I also want to ask this from you, and I want you this time around to be specific and probably make your answer direct. And we all know what is happening in Africa, most of the African countries right now, where even the best brains that we have are being attracted by the developed countries. The African sustainable educational system they achieved in a country where the best brains have been attracted by these developed countries. Now, do we still have hope in ensuring that our educational system is developed to a level that will be globally relevant and competitive, when the best lecturers in our universities are going to the United States of America, going to Canada, Australia? Yet now we are talking about sustainable educational system. Do we still have hope? What do you, if yes, why did you think so? Why did you think so?
Well, it's for me the answer, we have sold our soul. Because if you go to Oxford, you go to MIT, you go to all the top 50 universities in the world, you will find a Nigerian professor in the engineering, in the science, in the medicine. And so there was never anything wrong with our education system. I think our identity was lost in translation as we began to aspire for something that was outside of our realities. I think our education system were absolutely great. So I think for us, we need to stop this this complexity of or this complex that we are suffering from, that thinking that our curriculum is not good enough, and then we look at other countries when they are struggling to even attract postgraduate students within their own developed economies. I'm not going to mention countries, but when you look at, there's a country that is the biggest economy, one of the biggest economy in the world. It attracts people from all over the world. And you ask the question, why? It is because they know that there is value in diversity. So that is why I'm saying, in the African context, we need to stop this thing of selling our soul and lose our identity. I think our identity is very, very important, because it's aligned with our realities. So there's nothing wrong with our curriculum. I think we need to just strengthen it, and then also while we build global partnerships.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osifila. Do you have anything to say in addition to what Professor has said?
Well, I think all hope is not lost, but presently it's still a very sorry state. I think about 2-3 days ago, ASU is already threatening another strike. And if it happens, it means Nigerian University will be shut down for how many months or whatever. Until we get a leader who values education and who will be ready to put every resources into it, I want to believe, sir, that just 1% or 2% of the total fat collected in Nigeria, if that money is devoted to funding education, Nigerians will have enough. If from every liter of petrol we buy at whatever price now, just a minute 0.1 or 0.2% of whatever we pay is put together and diverted for funding of education, we will have the human, the material, and the physical resources. So I want to believe that if we don't have hope, I won't be in this business of education. I won't be a teacher. One day, I believe we will get there.
Thank you so much. Now, the next question is for both of you, but I want Dr. Osifila to answer first. We all know that our certificates in Africa, or let me say in most African countries, are not generally accepted in most developed countries of the world.
Yeah.
I've seen some of my colleagues who left Nigeria with their PhD degrees, professorial status, and they got to some of these developed countries, and they were offered to work as a kindergarten teachers, and some of them are even doing security jobs. Some are into selling at grocery shops and so on and so forth. But when we have reason to engage them, employ them into our system here, we value their certificate. Dr. Osifila, is there any policy framework that could actually make our certificate to be globally competitive? Is there any way we can make policies that will make our certificates, competitive as a policy expert?
What I want to say, sir, our certificate is okay, provided the process of getting such certificate is qualitative. I've mentioned to you, when you go to the university or higher institution in Nigeria, in the last 10 years, how many times have university gone on strike? The last one was almost about 9 months. Students were staying at home, nothing. And when you get to the campuses too, do we have the required facilities? Are the lecturers well motivated to do the work? How much is the salary of a lecturer or a professor in Nigeria to a professor in South Africa, for instance? And not to compare a salary of a professor here, even with a teacher in UK. They value the human resource in education. So the process is the problem. It's not the certificate. So if the process is flawed, if it becomes garbage in, garbage out, that these people were not well prepared, they were not well produced, hence, when we get to the developed countries, they want to suspect that we don't have the wherewithal, we don't have the knowledge. So all the government needs to do is to come back home, fund the system, make the human resources, make them adequate, make them well compensated, make them well motivated, provide the resources. My prof colleague said less than 28% of Africans have access to internet. And in this 21st century, sir, you will agree, most universities, college of education, and higher institutions in Nigeria cannot boast of internet that are working. How do you research? How do you network? How do you meet people globally? Until all these things are done, until when the process is good, then the results, the output will be acceptable all over the world. Nigeria has the best brain. And that's why when we go to UK and other things, by the time you live here, we're having first class and we are beating every other person from the other countries.
Thank you, Dr. Osifila. Professor Ruben, what's your take on this?
Well, my take is as Africans, we suffer inferiority complex. You know, when we receive our colleagues from the developed economies, you know, sometimes we don't even ask the fundamental questions. We just embrace them because of where they are coming from. But you'll be surprised in terms of knowledge gap how they are. Unfortunately, you know, as I don't think we need any frameworks. You know, here in South Africa, we have the South African Qualification Authority, which is SAQA, that evaluates all degrees regardless of where they come from. So the problem are the people on the other side who, when they see a pink certificate, you know, coming maybe from Stanford, you know, suddenly it's better than the yellow certificate that is coming from University of Lagos. You know, when the issue is just a color, you know, they use a different paper. But the reality is, I don't think we need to be developing new frameworks. I think we are complete, we are academics, as long as we engage. But the thing is also, our brothers and sisters, they are running to get these PhDs. You know, they don't even know what does the PhD mean to them. You know, and then suddenly we always have all these predatory journals where we publish and all that. You know, if you really want to play to the global space, you know, you always have to look for high impact factor journals and publish or diversify your publication scholarship so that there is no question about your scholarship. But the questions are being raised because of some of the awkward journals that we used to publish. So that it ended up, people end up questioning our qualification because we are so eager to get to become professors and all that without going through the journey. It's a journey. It's not something that you wake up and then now you are prophesying.
Well, thank you, Professor. Yes, I don't know whether this question is applicable to people in South Africa. I think Professor Ruben will be able to tell us. In Nigeria, we discovered that the government has made private sector to be so relevant in our educational system, and to the extent that some of us who are public school teachers are no longer interested in allowing our children and world to attend public schools. And we prefer to take our children to private institutions. Can we say now, Dr. Osifila, that the private institutions are performing better than the public institutions, and that's why some of us are taking our children down there? Or what do you think is responsible for this?
Okay, I think in terms of management, private individuals are better managers, probably because they are out for gains. They want to make money, and they put in every resources at their disposal to make sure they get results. But in Nigeria, the attitude is whatever does not belong to us or that's not your personal belongings, majority of Nigeria don't treat it with respect. There is a bad attitude towards government properties. It is not mine. What is my business? I won't be the messiah. These are just the songs. These are just the lyrics that comes from majority of Nigerians. And most of our political leaders who are supposed to give directives, supposed to give direction, who are supposed to give leadership, they are not somebody you could rely on. They are only after their pockets. Money meant for education, ETF fund, TED fund. We have so much more that will have transformed our university system. But ask, how have they done with the mismanagement of this money? So much are stolen. Little are left to be shared or to be used for so much enormous project we have in the university or in our schools. So private individual wants to make gain. He puts in supervision, he puts in resources, he monitors it, he evaluates it. Whatever that is not good, he or she removes it and he moves on. But government don't see it, or people don't see government properties or government institutions just like that.
Thank you, my erudite teacher. Professor Ruben, do we have a similar scenario in South Africa?
Well, in South Africa, the private education system, it is definitely growing. But there, it's an issue. It's not even an issue of salary or anything else. It's just an issue of accountability. And some people within the public education system, they are just not accountable. That is the gist of everything. And also, you can't blame those who are moving their kids to the private schools. The private schools, parents want to make sure that these kids access certain capitals, social capital, cultural capital. These are resources that are needed to access various communities. These are resources that you need to access certain bodies of knowledge. And also, they have serious implications in terms of socio and economic inequalities. And I think that is why and we see a lot of parents are taking their kids to the private schools.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to also ask these questions. Based on my experience, I've seen a number of students in African universities, particularly in Nigeria, that were performing poorly with a CGPA of less than 1.0, that the universities will later even rejected them. But then we have opportunity of going to some of these developed countries and they come out with first class.
Yeah.
And do we think that African education system is not training them, or it's not, or what do you think will be responsible for this? Where a poorly performing student will go outside and become very brilliant. Dr. Osifila.
Well, it's about two things. There's what we call the nature and nurture issues about human performance and development. If you are born by a professor, and unfortunately you are located in a place where you don't have resources to learn, you may come out as a non-entity. You may come out as a non-entity. It's all about the availability of learning and teaching resources. I mentioned it the other time, Nigerians are brilliant, but do we have the facility to help us to learn? Do the teaching staff have the facility to be able to discharge their duties more effectively? Electricity is a problem. Internet facility is nowhere to be found. The motivational aspect in terms of incentives are not there. The students they don't even go to library. Our library don't have required materials. All these things will aggregate together to affect. But when they go over there, where the environment is robust, the environment is rich for learning, for teaching, they are definitely going to excel.
Thank you. Professor Ruben, lastly, do we have a similar scenario in South Africa?
Well, we do have people with attitude, with the history of our country. Definitely there are people who you know, just because of your background, you know, they already write you off. However, because we have laws, we have policies that are guiding our education system, so we do not see that. But I'm not saying that it's not happening; it's there. But also, we need to understand that is just a human being attitude. It's the way that you were taught, the way your teachers gave you attitude is the same attitude that you model to your own students. So this is a tradition that we need to eradicate that has been part of us for a very long time because we don't value our own. We just think our own are not good enough, which is problematic. That when you give a student a 95% in the African continent, you know, they think that, you know, how can that happen? And then the same student will go to Japan and go to the US or go to London, and then they get 100%. And then you can see that it's just an attitude that we have been socialized that in Africa we do not get 80% and 90%.
Thank you so much, Professor. Now we want to take a question directly from our audience. We are running out of time. One of our audience, Femi Ade Aladeton, is asking this question, and I want the two of you to answer. Political instability is a major cause of policy somersaults in the educational system. How can education help reduce the menace of instability, especially military junta taking over the government? Dr. Osifila.
Well, it's unfortunate that in African nations, one major problems against our development, maybe for the last 30, 40 years, is the issue of political instability. There are some African countries that have been taken over severally witnessing coup. And when you have coup over coup, those who are coming on board, who are not even trained to be administrator in the first place, will wish to just jettison whatever educational policy that are in place before. And also the civilians, even the political parties, they don't have ideologies. There are no veritable ideologies in terms of education. If you are in government for 8 years, as a governor, as a president, and you are living, whatever policy that is being implemented before you get there, you can continue, you can redefine, you can do it more rather than just jettisoning it all in the name of politics. I think that is the very first way to go about it. But when it comes to taking over and the problem we have politically, I think Africa may need some other interventions to be able to overcome the problem.
Oh, thank you, Professor Ruben. You have what's the take on this?
Okay, this is as a result of social exclusion or social marginalization. You know, when the group of people are being excluded, you know, they begin to rebel. And the other thing that you need to understand, when you go to school, there are two things you need to walk out with. You need to walk out with the education and then also with the piece of paper. In most cases, a lot of people walk away with the piece of paper, which is very, very problematic. And then, you know, they end up joining some of these groups because they just feel they're excluded, or even for them to get opportunities, it's just it's just not there because of their ethnic group or because of the status of their families. So they end up joining such groups. But I think we just need to beef up our education system.
Thank you so much. Another audience is asking that how do you justify that AI algorithms are not potentially replacing teachers in Africa? Can this be addressed?
When we definitely need to address this, colleagues, because currently the AI is fed by data that is coming out of industrialized countries. So we need to understand what it means. What does AI mean? AI is not generative chat GPT, those large language models or text models for processing the models for processing text. That's not AI. You know, it's part of AI. It's just a tool. But AI, it's about data. It's about statistically analyzing data, and then you bring the AI tool to process it so that some decisions or some activities can take place. So we need, I said earlier, we need to feed the beast with our own data as Africans. And in most cases, the quality of data that is coming out of Africa is not good enough. So I think those are some of the things technically that we need to address: the quality of our data, and also make sure that we understand the places where we need to contribute our data to, and stop this thing of our government always trying to regulate technology. Technology, it has no boundaries. So you can't be regulating something that has no boundaries, because irregardless of a regulation, it will continue to operate.
Okay, thank you so much. This time around, we are running out of time. Also, I want us to ensure that our answers are very short. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Osifila. Another audience, since there is interference by politicians in the formulation of policies, what should be done so that these politicians do not slow down the process of sustainable development? Dr. Osifila, do you?
Well, I want to say that the stakeholders in education will have to take their rightful place. They have to stand and take decision. We can easily handle these politicians. I want to say, if ASU, for instance, COASU, ASU, or any other unions in the educational system want to fight a cause, they should fight it alongside with every other stakeholders, so that there will be that support and massive support. The politician cannot withstand the unity of any union. When people understand this is the reason why you are fighting, then we'll have our ways to be able to be a very influential part of policy formulation and of policy implementation.
Oh, thank you. Because of our time, we still have one or two things to do. We ask after this question, then we tell the audience to post their questions. We are going to post the question to the speakers, and the speakers will provide answers. Then we'll fill them back on our platform. The last question is, why is it that we still have problems in Africa institutions to implement IT in teaching learning process? What is the way forward, Professor Ruben?
Well, earlier on, I alluded to some of the paradoxes that exist in Africa. In Africa, we have been technologically deterministic, and that is also reflected in the SDGs, which focuses on digital divide. And here is where the problem is. The digital divide, has been simplified into connectivity. And that is where the problem is. And then suddenly we are saying, because people have access to mobile technologies, and then the digital divide it's closing, and that's not true. So I said earlier, we need to match professional development activities with the type of money that we put in terms of procuring devices. Remember, these devices are coming from the developed economies, and they are pushing them to us, and we are spending in them. As we spend, we need to also make sure that we create opportunities for people to develop their digital fluency, so that they are just not consuming only, because even in terms of social, in terms of mobile technologies, people are just using it for social purposes. There is no social entrepreneurs that are coming out of the African continent. There are, but they are insignificant. So I think it's very, very important that we balance the narrative, and also in terms of investment.
Thank you so much, Professor. And at this junction, I want to appeal to our audience that we have all your questions with us, and we promise that we are going to send the question to the guest speakers. And as they provide answers, we are going to display the answers on our platform for more interaction. At this point, we want to go to the next item on the agenda. But before then, this Researchment Academy is powered by Glintplus International. And in Glintplus International, we have the following services. We assist authors to publish their articles. So we also have a service we render a service in manuscript editing, and we also publish books. And we have the following journals: Chemistry of the Total Environment, Journal of Mining and Geosciences, Journal of Agriculture and Applied Sciences, and we also partner with institutions to host their journals. Currently, we are hosting a journal by the Department of Agricultural Economics and Extension Services and Extension Services at Adekula Ajatu Universities, Akungba Akoko. And the title of the journal is Ondo University Journal of Agriculture and Social Sciences. So, listeners, if you are interested in partnering with us, we can render all of these services that I have just mentioned. And apart from all this, we primarily engage in monthly webinar every first Friday of every month to educate our audience on how to write high quality research articles. Our target is to contribute to the development of education through research findings. And what we do, we are not just publishing, we are publishing high impact articles that can actually develop or contribute to sustainable education system. And that's why our target is to move towards registering with Scopus. And very soon, one of our journals is already qualified. Journal of Agriculture and Applied Biotechnology is already qualified. We have met all the requirements for Scopus. And anywhere from now, we are going to launch that. But for now, we move forward to, we have an app that we just developed that we assist researchers, scholars all over the world. Shortly, we want to launch the app. Our team will come up shortly to display the app to the audience so that we can start making use of the app. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kolede. Imisi Arowojolu, and I'm happy to be part of this team. I have a brief speech to give before we launch the app, but I have a question that we were unable to attend to here, and probably this will redirect my speech in this occasion. So, would it not be educating if platform facilitates the inter-countries research collaboration within Africa to boost academic development? Exactly this question came to us some years ago. The need for us to have a platform in Africa. While I was in Nigeria, I found that most of the available platforms, we were unable to access them as students. Why? Because students in most universities there are not having institutional emails. And if you don't have institutional emails, you've not published an article, it's quite difficult to have access to those platforms. So we decided that we want to build our own that is going to be indigenous, that understood our problem, and we'll be able to provide solutions to it. And we came up with an app, a platform, Researchment. It's a platform. And that platform is what is housing Researchment Academy that is organizing this August panel discussion. And the app we built is social academic networking app that students, researchers, policymakers, and other professionals can come together, interact, collaborate, and discuss innovations. In this situation, we found that most policies in Africa were not actually, particularly in Nigeria. Don't let me just generalizing in Africa, but I know of Nigeria that most of our policies are not research based. But we want to bridge the gap in such a way policymakers can make contributions to ongoing research that will be displayed on the platform. So I'm proud to announce to us that the app is built by our Africans programmers. We have Jonathan Egbeleke, Daniel Akinrotimi, and myself. Jonathan and Daniel are both university students in Nigeria, and I'm so happy that they are beginning to make contributions into the innovation we are wishing for our dear continent. Without further ado, I would like to invite Daniel to briefly demonstrate the Researchmate web app, and then for launch it for our dear audience and to the general public to commence the usage. Daniel, you have to share your screen, please. Okay. While we are not having Daniel, I will quickly share my own screen and demonstrate the app for us.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, go ahead, Daniel. I'm going to stop
Um,
sharing my screen.
can you see my screen?
Yes, I'm adding it now. Yeah, your screen is up.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Akosimi Daniel. So this is the application. You head over to researchment.com to open it. So before I proceed, I would like to tell you that this app is currently in its beta stage. So it's in the beta testing stage. So we are testing it and we are continually improving and upgrading it to improve the user experience. So if there are any issues, we provide a platform for complaints. So now the first thing I will do is I will sign up with a new account. So sign up with this account. Um, use the username. Okay, this is username I would like to use. I'm going to add an email. So add my email to it. Yes. I'll add the password also. So it's recommended to use a very strong password, a mixture of numbers, symbols, upper and lowercase letters. Then I'll create my account. Yes, so my account has been created. You can see that it's telling me that the user is registered. Please activate your account by checking your email. So I'm going to check my email, but I won't be able to open my email in this place. So I'll open my email is on my phone. I'll check my email. There's a message sent to me on the email there. Um, I can't open the email right here. So checking it. Okay, yes, I've gotten the email. So you can also do what I'm doing. You can open it on your device, your machine, and have it work. So once I see the email just contains a link, once you click the link, the account will be activated. Without activating the account, you won't be able to sign in. But now that I've activated the account, I can sign in here. So yeah, I'm signing in now. Uh, Logging in. Oh, you see, it is saying the account has not been activated. So let me
You're having
sign in.
email in the place of username.
Place of username. Okay. My username is Fabiola. Let me change the password. It appears Google did not store my password correctly. Okay, so I have activated this. Oh, I think I pressed the wrong password when I was creating the account.
Can you please use my own
Okay,
account? I just created an account now.
okay,
Password on your WhatsApp.
okay. Okay. Um. So the application is open here. So I must have used the wrong password. So here it is. You can at this place you can create a post. You can start various posts. So I'm going to start here. Yeah, this is the first post on this application. Um, Post to the great successes that lie ahead of us. Okay, so I click on the post to post it. I can see that the post has been created. So other users can like the post, can comment on the post, and repost it, and whoever the post can also edit it. So you can that is
So,
how you can.
Daniel,
Yeah, sir.
please, I would like to cut you short because of the time.
Okay, sir.
Um, can you please go to the add research items? This is where it's more of academics. Just click on
Okay.
it. A couple of
So
items
to add that.
that users can use, that they can add published articles in case you want to share it with your colleagues from other areas that you are not reaching. They can ask questions, they can research papers, projects you are currently working on. These exact features are available in some of the existing socio-academic platform. However, what makes our different from them is because this is for Africans, is for the global usage, but we want to be more inclusive, just as Professor Dlamini just said, that we have to make research and education inclusive. And that is why we have come up with this. Thank you very much. I therefore welcome every one of us to create an account and share it with your colleagues and friends. Thank you very much. Thank you, Daniel.
Welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Our audience, I believe you have seen the app. The app, you can have access to the app from your Google Play Store. and it serves both social and academics. It combines the attributes of social media platforms and academic platforms like ResearchGate and Facebook, or ResearchGate and WhatsApp. So it's a combination of the two. So, and it's for us to educate ourselves on on research. For example, you can ask questions if you are doing some analysis that you want to experts to contribute to the quality of the paper. You can go to the app and ask questions, and experts will respond to your questions, and so many other things that you can do there. You can also equally turn it to social, where you can, just like the way Daniel, display what he displayed. So at this junction, we want to also present certificates to our guest speakers, and that's to just to appreciate them. We understand the importance of their time, and they have decided to, give us this time, and we want to appreciate them. So I therefore invite Dr. Issa to, okay, on behalf of Researchment Academy, Professor Reuben Dlamini, we present this certificate to you for your time with us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. And we also hope that whenever we call upon you next time, you will also, quickly respond to us. And by the grace of God, we continue to partner in order to ensure that the Africa education system is sustainable and competitive. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, do you have anything to say briefly, sir, on this certificate that we have just presented to you, Prof?
Thank you very much, colleagues, and I receive it with the greatest appreciation, knowing very well that 75% of Africans still lack access to the internet, which means they are largely untouched by the digital revolution and its potential dividends. So I receive it, and I hope that we will continue to work together in research and also in development. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. And also, I am in place for Dr. Osifila. We also want to appreciate our second speaker, Dr. Osifila, for his wonderful presentations. And on behalf of Researchment Academy, we are also presenting this certificate to you in recognition of your exceptional contributions as a panelist at the first special edition of Researchment Academy. We also invite you to join our monthly webinar every first Friday of every month. What we do there basically is to teach our audience how to write high quality research papers. And on this note, I present this certificate to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate, and I thank you for the honor to invite me to share ideas. And maybe I will just put it this way, that what the Researchment Academy has just been doing is one of the institutional strategies to ensure sustainable development in education. I want you to keep it up. The sky is not your limit. At any time, we'll give our support. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We are encouraged by your words. We are very, very grateful. So at this junction, we want to invite Mr. Emise for the vote of thanks. Emise, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khalidou. I would like to appreciate every one of us who have made this awesome panel discussion a success. We had the idea, but on our own, we couldn't do that without the support of every one of us, particularly the panelists, Professor Reuben Dlamini and Dr. Gboyega Osifila. We are so much grateful, and we know that our dear Lord will continue to protect, provide, and sustain whatsoever He has been given to you throughout your lifestyle and beyond. We also appreciate all our uh, participants. We know your words, and you'll be doing a very great job. You'll be making contributions, particularly spending time with us. And in our own part, we've been tried that your time are well spent by getting the best out of the best. And that is exactly what has just happened today. Getting first-hand information from the right source. We thank you for being part of us. And to Researchment Academy team and Glintplus community at large, we are so grateful. We've achieved a high landmarks today by launching our Researchment app, which has been under production for several months. Though we've not gotten to where we are going, but innovation, just we've been told today, is part of human race. So we have to exploit that innovative spirit and continue to innovate and give the best to the community, particularly Africans. Thank you very much. And I would equally encourage every one of us to share our thoughts, our idea, our innovations, particularly Researchment Academy, to your students, your colleagues, your friends, so that they can be parts of this historic event we are having monthly. All our editions have been archived in YouTube. We have a YouTube channel that whosoever is interested can go back to watch whichever editions you are interested in, or particularly you can choose by topic. It's always available for every one of us to access. And I will encourage us to make use of this new app that has just been launched today. We count on you. Without you, the app will not be a successful one. Thank you very much.